everybody, and welcome to the very first White Line Fever Live for 2019. You probably wonder where we've been. Life got in the way. We did a couple of these towards the end, or after the Super League Grand Final last year, well received, and then everyone got scattered to the four winds. I went off and did World Cup stuff, etc., etc., etc. But I am here to solemnly pledge that if I've got nothing else on a Wednesday night this year, the White Line Fever Live will be a regular on your computers. And the thing I hate about this program is that, aside from hosting it, I sort of have to direct it. And it means that I'll always be wearing glasses on this program, which is kind of embarrassing because I have to look at my computer screen and bring the guests in and all that sort of stuff. We're going to be really quick tonight. I thought the one that went for hours and hours got a bit tedious last year, so we'll just keep it to 30 minutes or less, and we're going to be talking about the new Super League promo, which dropped, as they say in the business, at 10 a.m. on New Year's Day, and it was Robert Elston, the new CEO, introducing the rule changes, which had already been foreshadowed, and also introducing a few of the new signings. Blake Austin was one of the people who was featured, and these two fellas have seen it, if only 5 minutes ago. And it's Phil Wilkinson from the Wigan Observer. Hello, Phil. How are you?
Good, mate. Thank you.
And from every other publication in the world, John Davidson. Hello, John. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, good. Now, thanks for joining us, guys, and obviously, this is payback for any time you've ever asked me to do anything like this. So thank you very much. So I want to get your impressions. Are you excited by what you saw yesterday morning? Is it better than you anticipated? Did it fall short of what you anticipated? I'll start with you, John. What do you think?
I'm hoping there's a little bit more when it comes to a promo to start the season. I think it was satisfactory, but if not a little low key. Obviously, we've still got 29 days till the start of Super League, so hopefully we get a bit more buzz before the season starts. But okay start, I guess.
Yeah. Obviously, Phil, there's been a big split in the game in Britain, and a split in resources, and the Super League, the new organisation, have poached staff from the RFL, and it's kind of just rumours as to who's stayed at the RFL and who's gone to Super League. The communication with the public hasn't been top notch, has it? So is this a start, do you think, to a more open kind of administration, or what do you think?
I don't think it's all in place yet. So once it's all in place, we'll probably have us as journalists will have a clear idea of who we're dealing with and who's responsible for which different roles. In terms of that promo, mate, that was the first time I saw it half an hour ago when you said maybe you should watch it so we can discuss this. And I guess that's the problem about doing it on New Year's Day when people are still off work. And it's solid enough. It's a nice enough way to introduce the rule changes. But Robert Elston said from day one he wanted this to be more about the stars than the chief executives. And when he came on the screen at first, I thought, well, what happened to that message? But as you mentioned, they got Blake Austin in there, a couple of the other players in there. There's footage from the Sydney Roosters in there, and stuff like that. So a solid start, as John said. Let's just see how this builds up now, because we've got 4 weeks. 4 weeks and a day until the new season. Let's just see how this builds and builds. Let's hope they're having the conversations with Sky Sports, that Sky Sports are going to be running these promotions or running their own trailers, building up into that first game, round one, Wigan St Helens.
Yeah, it does kind of. I guess the problem is that with the administration only being bedded down now, and probably still a few positions still open, that it seems a bit of a last-minute scramble, guys, doesn't it? It seems that they're rushing to sort of get things.
Give them time, though, Steve. I mean, I think you made a point the other day that a lot of the people who did such a good job on the England team during that international series against the Kiwis, and even before that, I think a few of the video guys have gone across. If they can do that, what they did with England at this level with Super League, and also a lot of that media stuff where, I thought the media was really good with the England series. It got them a lot of mainstream shows, a lot of mainstream media. If they can replicate that for the build up to the start of Super League, then Well, it's more encouraging than was it last year? They had the Brownlee brothers, which didn't quite work, and I think they were trying to replicate the one from a couple of years ago when they had Sir Bradley Wiggins, which probably was a bit of a better promo. But let's just see how it goes. Let's just see how it goes these next few weeks.
Yeah, John, are you? I mean, from what we understand, there'll be separate launches for Super League and also for the RFL. Are you optimistic that this new division of resources will it'll be a gamble that pays off or not?
I am optimistic. I think something had to be done. I think the game, and you look at numerous factors, whether it be sort of attendances or fan apathy, and probably ratings as well. The game definitely needed some change, and I think that at least last year there was that admission that okay, we have to try and do some things and differently, and maybe change the way we operate to improve things. So that's happening. Whether it works or not remains to be seen. I think Robert Elston's made quite a few changes in a short amount of time. Obviously, I've noticed a lot of angst over Golden Point and the talk about 2 referees for 2020, but it does seem to be I'm got a little bit disheartened that they just seem to be the same sort of complaints and moaning before any of these things have actually worked or even been seen. And I think different people obviously have different opinions, but on the whole, they've been positive in the NRL, those changes. And I know you wrote a column about whether it should be NRL Europe or NRL British Rugby League Commission, and I think there's definitely things that they can take from the NRL. I don't think they should be wholesale, and it does seem to be there's a lot of people in the UK who are just anti-NRL anyway, regardless. So I really hope this change is one for the better, and I think there's been some positive moves so far, but we do have to give it time. There's still a lot to be done.
Whether you like the rule changes or not, though, I do like the idea that we're playing the same rules that the NRL are. It baffles me with things like the substitutions and in other areas of the game that we don't. It really annoys me.
It's a month and a half, maybe a little bit less till the World Club Challenge, and you'll be covering that because Wigan are in it playing the Sydney Roosters. Where do we sit with the World Club Challenge as a concept at the moment? Is it in any way tired? Is it are they going to sell out? The DW, and do we have a good enough sort of build up? At this point, a good enough or a big enough focus on the match.
I like the fact that when the details of this was confirmed, Wigan said straight away, listen, we want to sell out at the DW Stadium. They set the stall out very early on and said anything less than that will be a disappointment for us. So they've put it out there. They're not making any secret of the fact that they want just shy of 25,000, I think it is, with a big screen up. I've not yet heard a figure on what the ticket sales are, how they're going, things like that. But I'm sure in the next few weeks as it builds up, Wigan, I mean, you'll get an acid test, I suppose, is how they go against St Helens round 1. I think it's Leeds round 2. That'll give them a big test on where they are to face the Roosters a week after. But you'd have to say, obviously, we're going to have the advantage in terms of a preparation because, of course, they're playing 2 big sides in the build-up to that, whereas the Roosters are coming over a few days before. They'll be cold, but obviously they've got the superstar players.
Yeah. Why don't we talk, just before we go, guys? A few other things. Everyone's talking about the imports. There's some, really good players. We mentioned Blake Austin, Trent Merrin, Kevin Nguama. So this obviously the spin is that it's a new era because quality players are coming back to the UK again. Is that spin or is it actually the truth? Are these players the sort of players who are going to put bums on seats, or are they guys who are maybe at the back end of their careers? And I guess from the two of you, which of the imports excite you the most?
It's a bit of both because I noticed in the video I think they put Matt Frawley's name in there, and I think he's played 20 NRL games and probably couldn't really get a gig in another NRL club. So there's a bit of spin part of it. I think there is genuine excitement because there are several very good players in there. I mean, Trent Merrin, I think, is 29 and won a comp and played for Australia and played for New South Wales. So there is a bit of spin there. They're not the cream elite of the competition there, but you're not realistically going to get that. But in saying that, there are some exciting players like yeah, I think Nagama is a very talented player. Akila Uwate, another one who, probably was on the NRL, but on his days is amazing to watch. So there does seem to be a trend between actually filling marquees as opposed to what we've had the marquee rule for a couple of years and basically nothing happens. So at least clubs are actually trying to bring in marquees, so they should be commended for that, definitely.
The big change as well with that was Leeds, isn't it? Leeds in the past have said, I think they actually opposed the marquee rule when they voted for it, which was, brought in ultimately to try and get Sam Tompkins back to Super League, which obviously succeeded. Wigan have used it since to keep George Williams from the NRL's clutches. And it's good to see. I think Warrington were the next one who used it, St Helens too, in the last couple of years. Warrington using it again with, for me, a marquee player in Blake Austin. I am really excited about seeing what he can bring to Super League. And of course, Leeds, who I've just mentioned, they were opposed it. They've gone about it, and they've got 2 marquee players in this time. I think they're using it twice. So, it's good to see that they're using it, and I hope more clubs who can afford it will use it.
Mark Illingsworth, as we all know from Super League Pod, he says, I know people travelling from London and even Yorkshire to the World Club Challenge. Not all Wigan fans. The whole game should back it. It's positive that the promo includes it 100%. It's better to play the World Club Challenge than not play the World Club Challenge, but I guess we're just saying that. And I, over the years, have always whinged about the Aussies being reluctant to take part in it. So congratulations to the Roosters for getting on the plane and coming over. Last year, Melbourne didn't want to do that. I think there's nothing wrong with suggesting, though, that things might need to freshen up in some regard, whether it's playing at a neutral venue or playing at a big soccer stadium. And also, we don't seem to have these big events. We don't seem to have a big promotional push behind it. Same goes for Challenge Cup final. We wait till a couple of weeks before, and then we go crazy. But that's a lack of resources, and I guess the resources have been split again. So there's no easy answer to that. Two more things I think are of interest. London are back in Super League. You guys probably been watching their recruitment much more closely than I. Will they be competitive? Are they a good chance of staying up?
No,
mate. Just go on, John. I'll let you start on this, John.
I think recruitment wise, they're. It's one of the. They'd probably be the lowest spender in Super League 2019, maybe, if not for Wakefield, from what I understand. And you look at they're doing really good things in the youth and the academy and bringing players through. And there was 2 players, I think one who went to Hull and one who's at Warrington now, who they already sold before they got up. So they are breeding players for Super League, but that squad, I just can't see anything but relegation. I hope I'm wrong, but it could be a season like, I think it was 2014 when they went down. I think they won 1 game. I think they'll win more than 1 game, but I don't think they've got enough, particularly depth across their squad to stay up.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with that. Although I am more than happy to be proved wrong on this one. With it being a long season as well and starting early too, I think the one thing London do have, which is shamefully better than some of the other Super League clubs, is they have more depth. And with it being a 29-round Super League season, which I think we all agree is starting too early, it's probably padded out too much. When those injuries and suspensions start biting into these squads, like Salford, for example, I think Salford have got a good top team, have got a good coach. That would be London's best chances if somebody like that, or maybe not a Hull KR this time around, but if injuries start biting into those squads and they're struggling, that would be London's best chance of sneaking second bottom spot. I hope I'm completely wrong. I hope we're in the top half of the table. I just can't see it. Sorry, mate. You just reminded me of one thing on the World Club Challenge. What you said before we talked about London. I spoke to Chris Wadlinski before Christmas at Wigan. He said that the Roosters wanted to meet in the middle this time around. And it was only because we said that they both agreed that it was just too short notice. He said it just couldn't, logistically as well as the promotion of it. He said if you're going to do something neutral like that, for the first one especially, it needs to be done properly. It needs to be done right. He said those conversations need to be taking place now for next year's World Club Challenge. Look, we've heard similar things like that before, though. So let's just see whether that actually materialises, whether anything actually gets done. I think it was, Super League aside, we're still waiting for the dates and the games for the Lions tour, aren't we? So
the World Club Challenge problem is that
It's for the clubs to organise, yeah.
Yeah, the clubs exactly, and there's no one working on it for the 12 months. So it's just the clubs until we know who's in it. No work at all is done, and it's just it needs someone working on it, all year round, and that's a real problem. I'm sorry. Before we move on to the next subject, John.
I was just going to say, just on the World Cup Challenge, I think it doesn't get the sort of status or push that it should. And you look at it next year. I mean, I think the Super League games on the same weekend or the same day as on the Sunday, and also it's a 7:00 kickoff, which I'm not exactly sure why that is. Phil might know whether it's due to TV or Sky wanted it later, but it just seems sort of madness that timing, and there's Super League games on the same day when surely it should be, if not a standalone weekend, a standalone day at least. So you've got other fans from other clubs, who might want to see Cooper Cronk or the Troll Mitchell, whoever, play, whether they be Saints fans or Witness fans or whoever. So I think it needs a proper respect and status that it should have.
Yeah, someone should have the job of working on it all year round. I've got a bit of time on my hands. I'll do it if anyone can. There's something else I want to talk about is the return of Sundays. So Sunday's been quite neglected, in Super League, over the years because Sky don't want to televise games on Sundays pretty much. But Salford are committed to playing the majority of their home games on Sunday. They're also trying to sort of spice things up a little bit with a fan zone and stuff like that. It probably could do with a little bit of branding Sunday, but it seems to be forgotten because Sky don't like it. And is the return of Sundays a good thing? Is it really insignificant, or is it something that the game could maybe capitalise on? What either of you think?
Well, John and I both have kids, and I think he'll agree these Thursday night games especially are awful for kids. I mean, we have season. My wife and kids have season tickets. I don't think they went to a Thursday game last year because it's a knock-on effect of what time they're getting up in the morning, and of course it's on TV, so there's no need to. You can watch it on TV. So I'm glad from that point of view that there's more Sunday games. I know Wigan did have some. A few clubs did have them last year, but I take your point. There seems to be more of an emphasis on it this season. I think it's better for families. It's also better earlier in the year as well. Let's not kid each other just because it's summer rugby league. We're kicking off in January. It's going to be perishing when Wigan play St Helens, at the end of this month. So especially earlier in the season, the more Sunday afternoon games that you can get, the more chance I think you're going to get fans along. And I know a lot of the bigger clubs especially do a lot of good things like, fan zones, fans village, gym bars, things like that. Anything like that should be encouraged. Anything like that just to get more fans through the gates.
I couldn't agree more. I think Sundays are sort of associated with the family day, and rugby league's been going down that family angle for years. And the weather plays a big part in it, particularly in winter. And I know lots of clubs, apart from Salford Holt, I think they only had one or two Sundays last season. They were very angry about that, and the madness of the fixture list where we had how many Fridays where there was 5 games on at the same time. So you're just killing your TV audience as well. So I think Sundays are great, and maybe a separate promotion for Sundays in particular. But the more Sunday games, the better from my point of view.
We're talking about splitting resources, and we started off by talking about the new Super League administration sort of putting their best foot forward, as it were, with a New Year's Day promo. The parlous financial state of the other half of the game, the RFL, was really well illustrated when they basically kicked Toronto and, by inference, also Toulouse out of the Challenge Cup because they wouldn't guarantee to compensate them if they made the final, and the crowd was down. So we've also got the 1895 Cup, which has been a curtain raiser, which is intended to boost the crowd by bringing more Heartland fans down to London on the day. Where is the Challenge Cup now? Is it at the end of its tether in its current form, or is it just one sort of Wigan Leeds or Leeds Bradford maybe, or is it just one sort of traditional final away from having a resurgence?
Either of you go for that, Phil?
Go on. Oh, mate. Is it this year that the final's in July?
No, I think it's
year.
being
That's this year.
Next year.
Yeah.
And it's only next year, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
not 20. It's not from 2020. It's just 2020, isn't it? And then we're going to have those conversations. Look, what we did with Toronto and Toulouse for me was just shameful. If you're going to invite them into the competition, you can't start doing things like that. And flip that on its head. The Leeds and clubs like that get a reward that they get a bigger crowds down there. It's just a stupid argument. In fact, the fact that Catalan got there this season, just for me, it reinvigorated it. Sure, there was a lot of empty seats at Wembley, but it was great to see another club win it. It generated loads of interest, a lot of headlines. Certainly watching it on TV, it was very colourful and it got a lot of people talking. I want to see, let's see what happens with it next year when it's in that July slot, because a lot of people are saying that one of the big reasons is that it's in that August bank holiday slot. It's the worst weekend for TV and for fans. Let's just see next year how it goes and if it goes any better, because that might answer a lot of people are just presuming it's because it's been moved from May to August, but that's the reason. I'm intrigued to see that, but certainly I love the Challenge Cup. I really love the Challenge Cup, and what happened with Toronto, with Toulouse, didn't sit comfortably with me. I just thought it was really small time.
Of course, Red Star Belgrade are in this year, and January 27 they're playing up at Millom in Cumbria. So they weren't asked to. I mean, what happens if they make the final? But anyway, John, what are your thoughts?
No, I guess not growing up with the Challenge Cup. It's been I don't know as much about the history and prestige, but I love the final. But I do sort of think that there is. I wouldn't say it's coming to the end of its shelf life, but it does seem to be a bit of fixture overkill, and you see the same sort of people milked to go to the final as you do with internationals. A lot of the other big games, Magic Weekend, and I think there's. Because that overall base is shrinking, there's going to be less people going to the final. So I think it needs a facelift. I'm not sure exactly what that is, but I wouldn't say scrap it, but because I think a day out in Wembley is also just a fantastic occasion, but it definitely needs some tender love and care.
I'm surprised as well with the Super League structure changing back, with the Super 8s being scrapped. I'm surprised too that they've kept that thing where the top 8 teams enter the round later, and it is just a congestion with the fixtures. I know this, but it just devalues it as well. That if a club like Leeds or Warrington or Wigan, not Leeds, if Wigan or Warrington they win a game, you're in the quarter final, then the semi. It's just they needed that extra game for me just to give it a little bit more value as well. I'm glad they've got that 1895 Cup. I hope that's a huge success. But it just goes back to fixture congestion, doesn't it? We've not got, we've got 29 rounds of a season with a five-team playoffs on the end of that one. It's just it just seems like there's just too much to pack in.
The Yorkshire Cup is also back as a pre-season competition. Obviously, no Super League teams involved in that, fellas, but the teams excluded were the teams who voted with Super League when they had they've been excluded from the Yorkshire Cup. The teams that voted with Super League when they had that meeting back in November. So obviously a bit of vengefulness there on the part of the Yorkshire lower division clubs who have rebooted the Yorkshire Cup. We're just about done, guys, I guess. But
they need to change that from the non-South Yorkshire Cup, because there's no Sheffield, no Doncaster. They don't exist in Yorkshire anymore. Been excommunicated.
So we're almost done, guys. But I guess one of the big concerns, or at least talking points, also is this Great Britain tour, whether it's going to happen or not. Mark Illingsworth saying he's looking forward to the final being in July next year. It'd be very nice weather anyway. So I guess. Will this year finish with the Lions tour as announced, or will the RFL again? If the RFL are so poor that they need compensation from clubs for making the final, then can they afford to mount a tour of the South Seas that doesn't involve Australia? Well, there's obviously been enormous delays in announcing that. So when we're sitting here in 12 months' time, will we be looking back on a successful Great Britain tour, or will it be another calamity, something that was cancelled at the last minute?
Yeah, listen, this is not new for rugby league or for the RFL, is it? I mean, and to be fair to them, they'll probably turn around and say it takes two to dance. They're trying to get these things nailed down, and maybe people on the other side aren't as forthcoming to get it sorted. The Denver test was arranged with weeks to go, wasn't it? I mean, and we've had plenty of examples of this in the past. So from what I've told, I've no reason to know why it wouldn't go ahead. And the fact that Australia aren't involved, yes, it's sad, but again, we needed the Aussies to come on board. I'm looking forward to it. I'm really excited about it. Sorry, my kids are coming in. And in the last couple of weeks, I spoke to both Ben Flower. He really wants to be on that tour. He obviously goes without saying, but it's interesting that because you ask somebody like Ben Flower, who's a Welshman, and I'm sure Regan Grace at St Helens would be the same. I'm wondering whether this prospect of GB at the end of the year just gives those two players and others just that little bit more impetus going into the start of this new season to impress. Sean O'Loughlin, he has eyes on that GB tour as well. He's not hanging up his boots internationally. If he's picked, he wants to be on that tour. So just a revival of GB seems to have excited the players a lot more than if it was an England tour at the end of the year.
And luckily, Wales have already qualified for the World Cup, but some of the other players, Scots and Irish players, it'll be very interesting if they're torn in two or maybe even in three with Nines World Cup on around the same time, who they decide to play for. Okay, that's enough. That's enough. Our half hour is up. I want to thank you both for giving us your time. I want to thank the people who at very short notice tuned in. Let's hope a lot of people watch on YouTube and subscribe on iTunes. Just type in White Line Fever. Of course, we are sponsored by Mascot Browns, who have plenty of great Wigan gear you can buy before the World Club Challenge. And I don't know if you guys. I'll also say that my book is now a year and a half old, and it just gets better with every reading. So if you haven't read it, make sure you get it on Amazon or from Scratching Shed or get it on Kindle. Do you want to plug anything, John?
No, just the expert. It gets better with every reading. Couldn't agree more.
And well, it want to get better from the first reading. And what about you? Phil?
I'm not plugging that book, mate. I went to about 4 gigs with you that year, and not one of them made that list. So no, I boycotted it.
That's because I don't remember any of those evenings. Okay. I'll see. Thanks, everybody. Don't forget to subscribe. White Line Fever on iTunes. League Hubcom and WLF Podcast on Twitter and Facebook. That's the tag for both of them. And don't forget to visit Mascot Browns next time you're going to buy some presents for somebody. And we'll see you maybe next week. I'll be somewhere doing something. Anyway, enjoy what's left of the off-season, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye.